The lupin is another early flowering cottage garden perennial, which I can't actually bring you a physical flower from right now, but is a fantastic companion plant with your roses, and much like the foxglove and the delphinium, very early in the season will produce wonderful tall spires of flowers which are adored by all pollinators. Now lupins, much as they're adored by pollinators, are also adored by the slugs and the snails, and if you've got a particularly wet soil, you'll need to watch out for damage they will cause over the winter. So when you're planting your lupins, pay close attention to the soil. Plant them with a good amount of drainage around them, some crushed eggshell, some crushed oyster shell, or some sharp sand or grit in the hole, and that will avoid any slug and snail damage around the crown during the winter. During the spring and summer, you can protect them with a garlic water spray or sometimes with copper tape. But the lupin is a really good companion plant going alongside your roses, adding a real wonderful sense of drama to the garden early on in the season. Normally flowering in May and June. Once dead-headed, they will provide small successions of later flowers early on in the season. But right now I can't bring you a lupin flower. Available from pure white all the way through to the darker pinks and purples, and now with breeding also available in many two-tone colours as well, where the flower is split into some, for instance, white on the bottom and purple on the top. But the sherbet lemons and the whites are always a very, very firm favourite here, mixing well with the pastel shades of my roses, going alongside roses like Sceptred Isle and Royal Dahl. They are a real firm favourite here in the cottage garden. So don't overlook lupins. Unfortunately, it's not something I can show you now, but it's something you should be paying attention for and looking out for. They grow really well from seed and are very, very rewarding. A lupin plant is not particularly long-lived, so don't get overly attached to them. Some people do have wonderful success with them long-term, but I would normally suggest that a lupin has a shelf life of around 3 or 4 years. After that, they tend to go really, really woody and fall apart, and you can't really protect them from the slugs and the snails for much longer. So make sure that you've got a succession of plants. Make sure you're taking cuttings, or you're going back to the garden centre or your online specialist and buying a succession of plants, because you can often find they completely disappear. And I do get many messages from people saying, oh, I had lupins last year but they've completely gone, and that's normally down to a wet soil and they've been attacked by slugs and snails over the winter. So don't overlook the lupin. For an early splash of colour in May and June, they're a fantastic companion plant to go alongside your rose.